Hi all, I hope you're all okay. It's Thursday again, and as you know, I'm Mark Mason, and I run art clubs here at Forge Cottage Studio for children as well as adults. And I've been doing some tutorials. I've done one so far anyway, which was the mountain scene, which we did last. I'll show you actually. The mountain scene, which we did last week, and here it is. This is what we did last time. That one. And today we're going to do another landscape, which I think is probably a little bit easier, but it's a lot. I'm not going to reveal it yet either. I'm not going to show you. You'll probably see the thumbnail at the beginning of the video, but for now, I'm going to let you just watch this through and see it come alive. There's very little drawing in this one, just a couple of things to draw, and then it's all about painting. Here's all the paints we're going to use. They're all there. Okay, not many. It's all gouache paint and a little bit of acrylic and some water and a small selection of brushes. And they're the brushes I'm probably going to use. I might not use all of them, but they're roughly the ones. Nothing expensive there. They're all cheap brushes. I get all this stuff very cheaply, and it all does a very good job. I don't need anything really expensive. I'm happy with what I use, and I produce good paintings with it. So here's where we go then. So we're going to start with this picture. It's going to be like a forest scene with a river running through it, like a stream that runs through. We're going to have some trees in the foreground here coming across, and we're going to have trees at the rear of the painting going back in different stages, showing good perspective in the painting so that you feel like you could walk into that area. So the first line I'm going to do is where the water meets the bank, and that's roughly about here. Just comes along, put it all the way through, like that. And this is where our foreground is going to be. We're going to have a bank here, like this. Something like that. So this is water, this is our bank, and this is going to be, this is the foreground bank. This is going to be the background with a bank over there and trees coming away from it. So all I'm interested in at this stage is actually painting in the rear of the painting, this area. And the furthest away stuff is going to be misty, a little bit of blue up there and misty greens, and then we're going to gradually bring up the tone in the colours of the trees, and we're going to have slightly darker until the closest trees, especially these ones here and a couple on this bank here, are going to be very dark so that they look like they're much closer than everything else. So the first colour we're going to do, we're going to stick some white acrylic. You could use gouache if you wanted to. White acrylic for now. A little bit of blue. Tiny bit of blue going on. And what else could I might put a little bit of green in it as well. And probably a bit of yellow ochre. There, and I'm going to mix on this plate over here. Let's wipe my finger. Right. So yeah, let's have some paper as well, thanks. And we'll get painting in a second. So we're looking at painting this area in here first of all. I'm going to start at the top, work my way down. It's going to be bluish colours up there, going into whiter colours, creamier colours, and then going into soft mottled, soft sort of greens, mottle the colours, and they will be very, very weak in colour, nothing too strong, because that's the furthest away stuff. I'll tell you a colour I did forget to get out of my box is purple. I'm going to get a little bit of purple. And these are all Reeves bottles of paint. Here we go, just those ones. I just use these. It's what the children use, and the adults in fact, at my art groups. I can't wait for the art groups to get back to normal, really missing them, as well as all the people that come to them. And of course we do workshops through the holidays as well. We do all-day workshops for children. Occasionally I do adult all-day workshops as well. And they're open to anybody, those ones. But it's good fun, but I'm really missing everybody coming here. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a good helping of white and put it on that plate there with a drop of water on my brush and smooth it out. And then I'm going to add a little bit of blue for the top there, going into that same colour. Small amounts, very small amount. Do it gradually when you mix colour, because if you take a big chunk of that and put it in and you gone too far, then you've got to add more white. Before you know it, you've got miles too much paint. So do it gradually, a little bit of purple going in as well. Just check that it's not too much. There we go, so there's a bit more blue. Like that, and a touch more white I'm going to put in that as well, and more water. Right, I'm okay. Also mix up enough that you think you've probably got enough to do it with. So look at the amount I've got there. You know, about that kind of much there on a plate. This is a side plate, not a dinner plate. I haven't got huge hands. And, and that's what you'll need. So there we go. So we're going to put that up here. Now we can add other colour to this as well as we go. So this is, it's actually a little bit too light really. So we'll put some other colour in there, just smooth it out. And I'm just putting that through the centre at the moment, just through there. Smooth it out, brush each way and feather it so you lose the lines in it. Now that colour, that same colour, I'm going to start adding more blue to it and more purple. And I'm going to put some here. It's not much different. Not much different at all. But I'm going to work it a little bit darker in a second. Like this. Smooth it out, let it blend into that other colour. Use your finger sometimes, get a clean finger, just gently smooth it, almost like wet pastels. You're smoothing out chalks and pastels like that. And over here, I'm going to go a little bit darker. A little bit of purple going in, a bit more blue. In actual fact, I might even put a little bit of green, just a little bit of green going in as well. Very small amounts. Just tweaking the colour as I go. I'll put that through there. Smooth it out. Do the other side. So we're predominantly lighter through the middle. And of course, don't forget we can put pastel on this as well as we're going along. Now I'm going to start to put a little bit of yellow ochre in it, and this will turn it slightly greener. So you get this sort of a greenish, creamy colour. Very sort of greyish green. Put a bit more white with it. And I'm going to start to feed that in through here. It's all very light colours, all very misty, not really showing up much, but just enough. It will all become apparent later because we're gradually going to bring these colours up. If you don't start with your very light kind of distant colours, and you go too dark too soon, you'll lose that sense of perspective in your work, and it won't look quite as effective. Now I'm going to go a wee bit darker. There's a bit more white because I'm running out now. A bit more white going in, more purple, more blue, a bit more blue, touch more green, bit of yellow ochre. Right, you can pause this, can't you, and take your time with it. Now I'm going to start to bring this colour in. Oh no, that's wrong. I'm going to go with a bit more yellow, touch more green, and a touch more purple, a bit more blue, just to bring it down a bit darker. There we go, that's better. Like this. And I'm just going to mist this through, lower down, like that for now. So not really a lot showing at the moment, but enough for our initial start to the painting. Like that. We're only concentrating on everything that's above here at the moment. If your paper ripples up a little bit, don't worry. It doesn't matter. As it dries out, it will straighten out again. What I tend to do as well, after a painting's been painted, I'll let it dry and then I'll place it under a couple of heavy books, under a board, and it flattens it right out again. It's almost like you've been over it with an iron. It really irons it out again. It's fine. So I don't bother wetting paper and then stretching it and all that. I still find it ripples anyway, so that's fine. Here we go. Now we're going to start to bring in some other darker tones, and I'm going to concentrate down here and over here. So we're going to adjust that central colour again. The colour that we've been working on so far, we've only been working off one colour. Now I do need a little bit of black. I'm not going to use acrylic black at this stage. I'm going to use gouache black because it's weaker. It doesn't have as much strength in the colour, so there's no need to use the stronger acrylic. and I'm going to pop some black in there. Look, and I've got this grey colour, very light grey, very small amount of black went in there. A bit more green, yellow ochre, and a touch of blue, and a touch of purple, and maybe a speck of white. Mix it all up. More water with it. And now we're going to start to put in this colour. And it's just going to go in very, very lightly at the side here, like that. And this is still quite far away, you know, through the denseness of the distant forest, the other side of the bank. And we'll put some other, as it goes through the middle, I'm just going to come lower down there, because I want that to look like it goes off down there, and that's getting further away, so that will be lower. Up the side here is higher. Put a few splodges up there as well, because we're going to have some trees up there later coming through, and that will be some of their leaves. And now on this side, I'm going to start to bring some up here. Now look at the brush stroke, the wiggle. That's because I'm trying not to go too smooth and bubbly with it. I want it to look rough, textured, like there's loads of foliage over there. Right? There's nothing really detailed. It's all quite light. I'm going to put a little bit more up the side there. Just coming into the side of the picture there, because there will be trees over there as well. And that all helps with the leaves later. We will be doing slightly closer leaves as well. It won't all be that colour. A little bit right up there. I'm not going to go too much into this area at the moment. Keep that fairly flat along the bottom there. Now that same colour again, I'm going to start to add more green to it. So more green going in, and ochre. Notice the colours are becoming more tonal now as we get nearer. A bit of purple went in there as well, so a bit of green went in, a bit of ochre and a bit of purple. Now let's bring this in. Not dark enough, it's not really doing anything, so I'm going to bring more green in, more black, and a little bit of blue. Mix that in, that's better. Touch more yellow ochre. And don't worry if your colours aren't exactly the same as mine, as long as they're similar-ish. And then we're going to start to bring in, there we go, look, we've got these coming in now. Slightly darker. Don't block out what you did before, you're going to keep it, you can still see some of that, you know. You can still go over it a bit, like that, and go higher, but don't block out some of the other stuff that you did, because that you lose the sense of distance otherwise. We've got that going in there. A little bit more on the side here, on this side, like that. And coming through there, like that. All that nice and flat. Through there. Now with that same colour and a lot more water on my brush at the side there, I'm just going to start to put in some other bits and pieces over here. Like that, just dot them in. Remember, this is an area which is lower. Just things, just stuff going on over there. Bits and pieces. Wiggle the brush, nothing flat, nothing too like a pattern. Don't form patterns. Keep everything nice and fluid, and like that. All right. Let's have a couple of darker stuff hanging down here, like this. And we're going to bring some trees through in a mo. Right, now, time to bring in, no, we won't do trees yet, we'll still do another darker section at the side there. So more black going into this central colour here. Black goes in, just a little bit of blue, yellow ochre, green, more green. That green's horrible and it's like jelly baby green, but as long as you mix it with ochres and yellows and blues and blacks, you start to get a more natural green with that, so it's fine. The way it looks there, I wouldn't paint anything direct from the bottle with it unless I was painting a jelly baby, as I've often said to children that come to my art groups. Right, so a bit more blue in that actually. I'm going to go a touch more blue, there we go. I just want to turn that green round and go a bit more blue with it. And that's going to start to put in bits and pieces here, like this, bushes, like that. So we get another layer going through there. Of course, you can do a little bit down here. Not too high there though, is it? Because you're getting further away, remember. And then up here, we can get taller with it, but without blocking everything out that we've done previous. Because that would be pointless. You might have just gone straight in with the darker colour if you did that. A little bit of darker ones up here coming through, just here and there, just hanging down. Like this, and over this side we'll do some dark ones coming through here. Like that. Use the tip of the brush and you get these little things happen. Like that, you see that? You get these little, use the tip. Those sort of things happen generally just before the brush has fully dried out. You get those nice little touches coming in like that, so there's little leaves coming through. And like this, bits and pieces, you know, nothing too, it's all very impressionistic. We don't want anything to be, it's not like a detailed painting. A lot of people might think, oh, wow, I bet that took ages to paint. Of course it doesn't, because you're just wiggling a brush at it and things happen on their own. So there's nothing really that technical about it, it's just getting in the flow, like that. So we've got this nice thing forming now. Now let's put some distant trees in. Now distant trees, we could use this colour still, but we need to change it back to a lighter colour again. So we're going to put some white acrylic back into it, mix it in. So now we've gone back to a nice light creamy green, ferny green. Touch of blue going in, a bit more, and a little bit of black, like that. And this can be our distant tree colour. And they're going to just come through the painting wherever you like to put them, really. They're going to come up through here, like that. Rub the bottoms away so it looks like they're the other side of what you've done previous, just now. And you can just bring them through. And these are trees that are the other side of the bank, and they are the furthest away, like that. You see that? And then just rub that in a bit. You lose the bottom. You don't really want to see the bottom. Let's have another one coming through here. Keep them thin. A lot of brush control here. All right. Now, if I'm working flat down on a table, I put a finger out and use that as a guide like this. I'll show you on here. I put a finger out, and that's my grader. The brush can't go any lower than the finger, so the finger does help you support the brush so you don't go too thick with it. As I'm working flat, gravity's pushing my hand this way, not against the painting, so therefore it's not as difficult when you're working upright. Thin lines like that do require a little bit more of the finger down method when you're working flat. So there's a few trees there. Let's bring another one coming out the bottom of that one there. Very thin. And you get these little branches coming off. Now remember, trees are, the thickest point of a tree is the bottom of it generally, the bottom of the trunk. As the trunk goes up, it narrows off. Branches come off narrower than the trunk, but you need to make them sort of come off. Don't just bring them off at funny angles, and don't let them come off and then suddenly stop. It looks like somebody came along with a chainsaw and trimmed them all off. So when you're doing these, you need to sort of let the branch, there's a little branch coming away from that one, and it just continues off until it thins right out to nothing. Now I've gone a bit thick there, so I'll just thicken that out there and make that trunk a wee bit thicker. That's going to now be a bigger tree. Now obviously it would have been better if I'd gone to a thinner brush there, but I didn't, I was lazy. But you can bring, this is a thinner brush, a nice little rounded one, that was a flat one. And you can start using a thinner one for these kind of jobs if it's easier. Now I'm going to use the finger down approach there, and I'm bringing a branch away, like that, and another little couple of sticks coming off of it, like that. Make that trunk a wee bit thicker through there. And you can see we're getting these things happening. We're getting these trees that are a long way away. I'm going to bring another couple up through here. They're going right off the top of the page. Look, nothing is kept inside because we're up fairly close. The trees would be up here somewhere. We're just seeing the lower down portions of the trees. And we'll just bring these lines through. And remember, these are our furthest away trees. If you want to make any look further away, just add a drop more water to your brush. And then you can bring a farther away tree. Like there's one. That's a little bit further than that one away. That one's darker. And then you can bring some other little saplings coming up and little bits of twigs and stuff like that are growing. This is all quite wild in here. Just bring up some others through there, like that. Beautiful. Just bits and pieces coming up. Little bits over there, like tiny bits. And I'm going to do a few more over here. Just line wispy bits. Nothing dead straight, is it? Things are leaning and all that's happening. Nothing too regimental. Little sticks and twigs. A few more bits and pieces down here. There's another little tree just growing up through there. And bits and pieces coming off. All very quick. Doesn't have to be all done like this. You know, you don't have to take ages. It just goes on quick and easy. Get into a flow and you'll get a feel. You'll kind of like look at your overall picture, and then you can start to see where things are required in your one. Don't copy my painting exactly as you see mine. It will take you years. Just get into a flow and you design where your trees are going to be. It's fun. It's more fun doing that. You don't want to be following me every single tree exactly the same. It's not about that. It's showing you a formula for coming to actually get something that looks like mine in a similar kind of way, but without it being exactly like mine. You'll have more fun, I promise you. So there we go. So there's all the distant stuff. I think that's quite busy in there now. Now we need to put a few more leafy stuff in there. So we're going to use the same colour and we're going to dot leafy bits in. There's not loads of leaves in this picture. There's just bits and pieces. It's quite a sparse in leaves. I'm going to keep it quite sparse. We do need to break up some of these areas with leafy bits without blocking it all out. You want to see light. You want to see that sky coming through. A lot of people, when they do trees, they tend to block a lot of the light out. They end up looking like lollipop trees. You've got to allow, when you look at a tree, I always say to children looking out my studio window here, because we're in the countryside here, look through trees. You can see lots of light coming through, and that's what keeps it all looking quite real. So don't block out all that sky. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. All right. Might do another couple of little bits of tree down here, which is a long way down the river there. Quite a way away. All very soft and light. Now let's start bringing in stuff that's a bit closer to us. All right. Let's bring in some darker trees. Now we can use the same colour, but I'm going to get some brown, a little bit of brown. Now there's two browns in these types of paint, and one, I say to the children, I call it reddy brown, and this one's blacky brown. Now you can see they're quite different. This one's burnt sienna, and this one's burnt umber. On this occasion we're using the burnt umber, and it's just going to go into our palette of paints there, and I'm going to mix that colour. Whoops, if I get my brush around the right way. I'm going to put it into that creamy green that we're using for foliage and leaves and distant branches, and just put that brown in like that. Not too much. Last thing you want is for tree trunks to look like the colour of melted chocolate. Okay, because they're just not like that when you look at them. Some trees are quite brown, but many have a brownish greyish colour, a little bit of black going in just to give it that more greyer colour. And remember, it doesn't matter if you're not the same shade. What the main thing is just going that little bit darker than anything else on there, any of these, because we're trying to make this next little bunch of trees a little bit closer. So here we go, put glasses down for this. I'm going to bring one up through here. Now, is it dark enough? I don't know yet. I'm going to stand back and have a look. Yeah, it's got a bit more of a brownish tinge. I'm going to put a bit more black in it and a touch more purple as well. And water. Get it fluid. It helps if the paint is quite fluid when you're doing these sort of trees and things, because otherwise it doesn't want to leave the brush. That's it, that's all right, that's okay, I'm happy with that. That's a little bit closer. Another one coming through here, losing its base in the foliage at the bottom. And these ones have got to look like they're in front of those ones so they can go straight over. You can make them a little bit thicker if you want, just a touch. Not all of them, some of them are younger trees but nearer. Some of them are older trees and obviously nearer. You can bring branches off of them. There's one going up that way somewhere. Right across there. It's closer than those other ones. We'll bring that down a little bit fatter there, I think. And bring that up. Like that, and then you can bring a branch down off of that and think, look at trees. I spend a lot of time just looking at things and getting ideas. And do branches always grow straight up off of a tree branch? Well, no, they don't. Sometimes they actually come off downwards and then start to go up. You know, so there's all sorts of shapes, but sometimes people do shapes which don't look like trees for some reason. I don't know why. They're too angular. They're too dead straight like that. You know, coming out like a letter Y or something like that. You don't want that. You want natural shapes, but they can go up and down. And remember, look, just thin them out as you get further away. That one's going to come down like that, just very thin. Look, it's nice the way it goes over our light bit there. And that'll be about it, because that much branch, that much thickness of tree, I don't think it could take much more weight. Remember, a tree has to grow out before it can put more limbs out, because otherwise they would just break off. Everything has to be done so that it looks natural for that tree growth, the size of the tree, etc. So that looks about right for that tree. Let's have another couple over here. I'm going to bring one through. Now, it's having a feel for it. I look at it, I think, where should I put it? I don't want to block that one out, but I'll bring out one close to it and put a different kind of angle on it. Not too much, but let's have this one sort of going off that way, through there, and right through the top of the painting. Thicken it up a bit, like that. It's quite a big boy, this one, and it's going out to the side, like that, and then a branch coming off over there, another one coming off over there. Now, yeah, that's all right. It's lost a little bit in there, but that's okay, that's fine. And let's bring another branch coming off there like that. Thinner as you get away, all those little fine twigs, like that. Okay, very fine twigs. Remember, if they're not fine on the tips of those branches, it will make it look too heavy and it will look clumsy. So you have to be really careful with those moments and keep them nice and fine. And it's really important actually, because that can really be bad if your branches look too heavy compared to the actual trunk. I'm going to bring another one out here, same colour. I might go a little bit darker this time, a bit more brown going in, a bit more green, and a bit more black. I'll be into that other colour, so it's still quite fluid. And I'm going to bring one up through here. Still not the dark, they're not our closest trees, these are middle distance, so they're darker than the other ones we did before, but they won't be the darkest, because obviously as things get closer, they get more tonal. In fact, when I was driving to the studio this morning, I was looking across at all those distant hills and how blue they look on a morning like this, and they were all bluey, misty coloured, because obviously you're looking at something that's far away and they become less tonal. You start to see the mistiness in their colours, and it's worth looking at things, you know, all the time. Keep looking. Have a mind like an artist. Whenever I'm looking at things, I'm always thinking, how would I paint that? How would I do this? How would I do that? You know, and it's good fun actually. So I'm just bringing a few little thin twigs through there. They're all very quick. It busies up the area as well. Remember, this is a piece of woodland. It wants to look fairly busy. Let's bring that down a little bit. Just tweak things. This is that dark. This is the darkish brown colour, because these are closer, younger trees and things like that. And little saplings coming up and sticks, twigs, like that. There we go. And I'm going to put a couple more over here, just the thinner ones. Change the angles of things and let things form and have fun doing it. A little bit down here, nothing much. I think that could do with a tree going up there, so I'm going to just bring one up there. A bit darker. Brown and black going in to that original colour, just to get it a bit darker. So it shows up, there we are, there you can see it now. There it goes, it just goes in behind that one. A couple of branches coming out, and a few sticks next to it and stuff like that. Great. What else? Now, let's start putting in our darker, nearer trees, okay? No, actually, no, let's not do that. While we've got this lighter colour here, let's start putting in this bank, right? The initial colours of it, not all of it. It won't all be done yet because we've got water coming through and then we're going to bring more grasses up. But for now, let's start getting this bank in. Now this bank is going to be darker and a little bit more tonal than that one. So I'm going to start with this sort of greeny colour. I put green in that initial colour, that browny colour. We use these for these trees. I put more green in there. I put a little bit more black in, more purple going in, and some blue. Touch of yellow ochre as well, just a little bit. And let's start wiggling in some colour over here. Now when I say wiggling, that's what I mean. I'm wiggling. All right, I'm flattening the brush out. It's a flat brush, like that, and I'm going to wiggle in these colours, leaving gaps. All right, so you're just putting in some colour there, like that. Now I'm going to go with a lighter colour, so I'm going to put some yellow ochre to the side of that colour. There, yellow ochre, and whatever's left on the brush. And actually, I like that colour, so I'm going to put that straight in. That's going in. Through here, put it where you like. I'm leaving that corner there because I feel that that's a bit closer than there, so I'm going to probably go a bit darker there. But I don't want it to look like I've just splodged in some dark, so I'm going to go back to that colour there now, and now we can darken it. More black, blue, brown. Let's try those colours now. Put a little bit of stuff up here, and then get darker down here. Like that. We'll have trees coming out of here as well. Like that. Okay, now back to that yellow ochre colour, feed in some others. That colour at the side there. No, but I haven't really washed the brush out much through this painting because I tend to let it run out as I'm painting that bit and then I go straight in. So I know there's still a little bit of colour in there, but not enough to really affect the colour that's going on next. I only really wash my brush out when I don't want the colour to affect the next colour at all, generally. So otherwise you can just let it affect it a little bit, and that's quite nice. Makes for a more wholesome painting. Now, I've got this bank. We're going to bring trees out of that bank later. We're also going to bring nearer trees up through here as well. But do you know what? I think what I'll do next is the bank first, the river first, the lake or pond or whatever it is, a stream, and then we can bring reflections down into it, and then we can bring these trees over. So that's a good order to do it in. So we'll put some colour on here. This won't be finished, that's not quite finished yet, and that's not finished yet, but we'll do this next. So now I need a bluish colour. I'm going to move the paint over. Alright, so I've still got that colour there. It doesn't matter about that little bit of thin colour there, it doesn't matter at all. I do need some more blue though. I'll pop it on that pile there. I'm going to put some, I reckon it'll be a bluey greeny colour anyway. So blue going in, black, brown, bit of green, more blue and a touch of white and water. Okay, let's put this through here. first of all, down the bottom, just streak it in. Horizontal strokes, just streaked in. And leave some gaps. Leave gaps like that. Let's put a bit of white on the brush. Put it there. So it's got the whatever was left in the brush and white with it. And I'm going to streak that into there as well. See that? Just streaking it through. Doesn't matter about going over this bank a little bit because we're going to do other bits and pieces there anyway. That's fine. Like this. Okay, that's beautiful like that. Now let's go a wee bit darker at the bottom. So add a bit more black to that greenish colour there, that one we had for which we did down the bottom there. So real dark colour, black, green, blue going in. Black, green and blue. A bit more brown maybe. And I'm going to bring that through here at the bottom. Like that. And up the side slightly. Like that. Just let that streak in. Now I'm going to wash the brush out completely. Just take some of the water out of it, it's still a bit damp. And I'm going to just lightly streak that through. Like that. Up here, however, I'm going to go nice and dark through here. I'm going to go really dark through there. So that initial colour that colour we used there, we're going to darken it right down there. So we're going to go black, heavy, quite heavy with the black, blue going in, green, purple, brown. Now we've got this rich, dark, browny, bluey, greeny kind of colour. And I'm going to pop that in through here. Strong along that bank, all the way through. All the way through here. Keep it nice and straight. That's going to go all the way through there like that. And then as you come down, just bring it down and then start to let it streak. And don't go into that area too much. Just let it streak through here. Like that, and let it until it gets to there. And then just let it sort of blend slightly, all the way to the edge. And a bit more water on my brush here, just water. And I'm going to let that streak through a little bit more. I can't go too wet, I'm working upright. I'm not doing a watercolour, this is gouache of course on acrylic. So I can't go too wet, otherwise it will start to run down. You can go wetter, but then you don't really want to soggy the paper up too much either. So go reasonably easy. A little bit more dark through here. And let it streak in. Nice. Okay. Now I'm going to use acrylic, good clean off, acrylic white going into that other white I had there with a little bit of green on it, and then a lot of blue going in, medium amount of blue, sorry, not a lot, medium amount, more white, so you get a nice pale baby blue. Now I'm going to just streak it through here. Getting that light coming through there, through here, just hitting the shadowy darks, and blending into them with ripples, like that. Through there. A little bit of light going on over here, not too much, just a little bit, like that. Okay, and we've got some sort of thing that looks a bit more like water now, but it's not completely yet, there's no reflections in it. Now the next stage is we're going to go with that darker green that we've just used for there, alright, which is here. I've got it there. Now what I'm going to do with it, I'm just going to mix it with that other green there. If you've got any other greens, creamy greens left on your plate somewhere, the one I moved over, and I've mixed it with that with some water on my brush. Now I'm going to do some close-up bushes. Here. Down to the water's edge and flick up, go over those second layered trees there, these ones that are a little bit like that, and lower as we get down through here, higher at the side but without blocking everything out. You want that light coming through. Over the other side as well, coming up the side here, same colour, just using the wiggle technique. Just trying to avoid patterns. Don't want any patterns. And we've got those lovely little bits of bushes growing along and grasses sticking up. And do a few up there. Well, leaving that lovely little bit of light in there. Look. Leaves hanging down. This is very watery, so we're not seeing details of leaves. We're seeing almost like a smoky leafy effect, which is what leaves look like when you see them in the distance. You don't really see individual leaves, you see clusters, and they look smoky in the distance. And you just have those hanging down. Right, there's a few coming down through there as well. My brush has barely got any paint in it, but it's enough to keep working because it's giving me just about the right amount of tone that I want for that area. So sometimes you do not load up your brush with loads of paint because you just don't need it. You do, it works quite good when you do that. Now, on the other side of these trees, I'm just going to go slightly darker with that greenish colour. That greenish colour on the plate there that I had, which I used for here and these bits. And I'm just going to touch up some of the more closer trees, which are showing me a little bit more detail. Quite watery, sometimes I take it off of my hand there. And I'm just going to come up the right-hand side of the trees on this side of the painting, the light. There's the light, there's our main light source. The sun's through there and it's all misty. And I'm just darkening up this side of my trees a little bit. Just a touch. And we can do more with pastel afterwards when we do our few tweaks with pastels and chalks over the top of this, like that. And then on this side, I'm going to do on the left-hand side of the tree because that's the shadowy side away from the light, which is here. A little bit in there, maybe. On the side of that, going up there, and a little bit there, and a little bit through there. Now, a few little tweaks and bits done with a darker colour. Give it a little bit of variation, and through there like that. Now we're going to bring in some of our darkest trees now, and these are the ones that are really close. So that colour you got on your plate there, that greeny grey colour, which we just used for doing the darks, we're going to use that as our base. We're going to put more brown in it, more black. This is a gouache black still, but now I'm going to add a little bit of acrylic black. I'm going to put it next to my gouache black. Not too much, it's very, very strong. I'm going to pop it in there, just a little bit on the corner of the brush, going in, gradually tweaking these colours, a little bit of gouache going in with it. Now that's going to be stronger tonally because of the extra strength that acrylic paint has. And although these aren't very expensive acrylics, really, because you can get very strong ones in tubes, they still have a lot more power than these ones. And that'll be fine, I think. But I might start, I'll keep with this brush and see how we go. It's the flat square, which I can push down and form a blade, like that, what we did in the other tutorial. And I'm going to bring a tree up through here. So a little bit of stuff at the bottom first, like this, and then I'm going to bring this tree up. Now this is a nice close tree. There it goes, it's just popping it in there. Lovely tree, comes all the way through it. It's in front of everything. It's king, it's closest to us than any other thing on that bank. Alright, nice straight tree going up through there. And sometimes you get these trees where they just sprout out another tree, don't they, from their base. And that's going off over there, just hitting, going through our light source in the middle, which is nice because it creates a silhouette effect and that helps any painting. Nice look there, and this one's its brother, and it's just coming up through here like that. There will be other little branches and things coming off, but remember, it must start to get thinner as it goes up. Sometimes you might get a little fat area, but generally it's thinner. And we'll just bring a few grasses up down the bottom there, and at the back there. Let's bring that out. A bit more shadowy through there because it's got some light coming through, and that's lovely. And let's bring in another very close tree. We're going to bring in one over here, which is going to go through here, look, all the way up there, like that. Again, it's closer than all the other trees apart from these two, it's on roughly about the same plane as those two. A little bit of stuff at the bottom, make it look more natural where it's growing out. And again, I'm going to bring another one next to that too, so you get those kind of forests where you, and it's just going over that one, but it's not going to block it right out. Like that, through there. And then I'm going to bring a branch out there. Going off. Now again, when you're doing these trees, you design them a little bit. You can use mine to help you do yours, but design your own trees a little bit. Don't do every single branch the same as me. You have, you do your own thing as well. There's one coming up through there. Just let that one fade out there because it's probably the other side of a few bushes there. I want to make it all look like they're on the bank. And then another one, I reckon we'll have another one through over here somewhere. Now the reason why I've kept that over to the right is because I've got plans to bring a couple of big trees through here, which is where we're standing as the viewer for this painting. We're standing on this bank, all right, looking across. So it would be nice if we had a couple of big trees coming right through there. So that's why I've left that one over to the right. Like that. And the streakiness that you get as you're painting, it adds to the fact that it's bark. It kind of helps it. There you go, just bring that down through there like that. There we go, so that's nice over there, tucked away over there. Now we will do other bits and pieces to these trees, so I'm going with a smaller brush now, this one, this size brush, and it's going to just start to form some branches and bits and pieces like that. And I'm using the heel of my hand there to support my weight and to give more control to the brush against the effects of gravity, of course, because obviously we've got that force, especially if you're working flat. I haven't got that so much working upright, of course, as I said earlier, but I do still need to get that control into the work. I'm going to bring a branch coming out of there like that, and it gets thinner and thinner, meandering along like that. All right, I'm going to bring another one up here, only because I felt it needed it. I stood back and had a little look. I felt, oh no, I think another branch was needed there, so I put one in. That one looks a bit flat and perfect, so I'm going to rough that one up a bit by bringing another little one off of that. Let's bring something else out of there. This one here, I'm going to fatten up slightly, like that. This one looks like a telegraph pole at the moment, so I'm going to do some bits and pieces to this one too. That's going to have a nice little branch coming out there, and he's going off over there somewhere, like that. Nice shapes, and that one's going through there and finding its way out of there somewhere. Another little one going through there. And we get this, it gets quite busy. Another one coming out of there. And there's another little brother coming out of this one's base. Dark colour, of course. That one's going to be leaning out, trying to get to the light. Cutting across there. It's just a sapling, really. Little brother for that one. Growing out the same roots as that one. And there it is. Right, so it's one of those young ones that you see leaning, where it's trying to get to the light. Let's bring another couple of little bits and pieces up through this bit here. One of those funny little thin sticks that you get growing out the ground. One day it'll be a big tree. And then we're going to do this side. Let's bring a branch coming up through here. Not too far. And remember, I've got big trees coming up through here, so we're only going to be doing a few odd little sapling type thing down here. It will work better in the painting. If we had too much going on there with these, with other stuff behind them, it would look a bit too cluttered, so I'm going to just bring some thin stuff up, like that. Inside there. Rough this up a little bit, at the bottom. Little bits and pieces going in. Remember, you can do other little bits and things. There's no, it's not rocket science, we're just putting little bits and pieces in. Right. Now the next stage is to, I reckon, get this water sorted, then our grasses, and then these big trees. And we're going to even put the reflections in. So let's do the reflections now. So when I do reflections, I want to reflect mostly the ones that are closer. There might be a little hint of other stuff, but don't, whatever you do, just do upside down version of that. Try and make it look like it's a reflection of that in moving water. If it's too strong, it will look a little bit twee. I want to just rough it up a bit. So we need a lighter version of that colour. Now looking down at my palette, I've got these creamy greens, I've got a darker colour here. I'm looking at that and thinking, well, with water, because we can use water just to soften it. Let's see what that looks like. It's a greenish greyish colour. We want it to stand out, we want it to be seen. So let's just bring, actually before I do that, let's just make that darker through there with ripples. Just bring some lines through there. With that colour I was just mixing. All the way to the edge and off. Nice little streaks. A little bit over there. And of course they will be going over like that. Down here as well. Okay, so now the reflections. And here we go. So this one's the main one for me. Now remember, if it's going like that, the reflection will be going like that. All right, it won't be going like that. It's going like that, like that. That one pretty straight, that one slightly out, that one slightly out, blah, blah, blah. You'll see what I do. So here we go. Getting thinner. It starts to turn like that. Wipe the brush off. Pretty clean, nothing in it, almost dry. And just soften the edge of that. Keep them straight, keep them horizontal, I mean, like that. And you just got these ripples going through the reflection. Now this one, same colour, going in from the base, like that. Little wiggles, horizontal wiggles, getting narrower, like that. Dry it off, and then just touch it through on the edge. Like that. This little fella here, I think he should get a little reflection, but only a little one. There he goes, you don't see the bottom too much, and then like that. I'm going to use a smaller brush for that, in fact. Don't want him to look too thick in his reflection when he's not very thick at all, so just rub that on and bring that through there, like that, and if he goes over there somewhere. Dry the brush off, and then just soften the ripples coming away from the actual reflection itself. Big one through here. I'm going to use the small brush for this one actually. Coming down, straight down, leaning slightly that way, and then just ripple it through, like that. This kiddie, this one, it's just coming through there, and then I'll walk down this side. This one, it's coming in quickly, going through there, goes off over there somewhere, and that one's dead straight. Gentle little wipe through. Grass is there. Reflection there. And over this side, this guy. He's reflected in there, like that. This one. Let's just dry that off before he dries. Just put these ripples in. soften. This is all the same colour I'm using for the reflections in the water. And that one there, and then that bigger one, and then this really big one here. Not too strong in colour. And this one doesn't get a reflection, does it? Because you've got the main bank there covering it. So I'm just going to ripple these through, lightly brush strokes with an almost dry brush through there, like that. Now you do get those ripples where you get shadows on ripples. So I'm going to bring some through here. Now I'm using the finger down technique, just so that the tip of the brush can only just reach the paper. And I'm just putting some darker ripples through where the water's literally just putting shadows on itself. Like that, through there like that. Just little tiny little ripples. And it just breaks it up and shows you that there is enough movement in the water to make those look like they are, not too mirrored. And then just rub it through gently, like that. All right. Next stage is to bring some grasses up through here. So the same colour, that dark colour, smaller brush. Now I'm going to bring these grasses up. Little thin streaks of grass, just silhouetting their shapes out over the light in the lake or the river, wherever it is. And it's just literally just putting some light, some silhouettes across like this. In this corner, I want to go a bit darker, so I'm going to use brown, green, and this will be what we use for our tree that's coming out in a minute anyway. And I'm going to start to put in some darker grasses in this closer corner here. Little wiggles with a thin brush, just bringing some lines up. Like that. There we go. I don't know how long it's taken so far. Hopefully not too long. Like that. Now we've got the big trees, and we're going to put one up through here, and I'm going to go back to the big brush, make sure I've got enough of that colour, so I'm using the colour we just used for those streaks of grasses, and I'm going to put in some black gouache, I'm going to put some black acrylic with it, brown, green, a bit of everything really, purple, blue, and that yellow ochre. Mix it all up, and I've got a dirty brownish grey, like that. Almost blacky sort of, you can't really sort of say what colour that is. It's a very dark browny greyish colour, and I want that tree to come out through here, slight angle on it, not too straight, and it's really close and it's nice and thick, like this real big tree. It's not that big, it's no bigger than any of them, but it's just closer of course, but it's our biggest one that we're going to paint, and it goes right through there like that. It's going to split off like that. Seeing a little bit more of what goes on above these areas, and it's coming through there. Another little branch going off over there somewhere. Big trunk. Lose that in the flora or the grasses below. And that's our initial little Passover, just mapping out where the tree is going to be positioned, and then we'll start doing other bits and pieces to it. I might bring up another one through here, just a little brother to it, you know, one of those little ones that's come away from it also. It's coming up through there. Right up through, like that. And let that just have another little branch growing off over there somewhere. Make it look natural. Thicken it up slightly, especially as you get to the bottom. Like that. There we go. We've done no drying on this so far. It's all been a case of just painting over, and that's an indication of how thick I'm using my paint. If I was using it ever so thick, obviously there would have been moments I think where we would have had to have dried areas off. Just bring a bit of a shadow through over there. Like that. Actually that's wrong, because if you think about it, the light's there, so the shadow will be going that way. I do apologise, I'll bring it back that way. And some grass is sticking up and stuff. And what we'll do, we'll just lighten that back up through there by just putting a little bit of light on. You might not have made this mistake, but I've got to sort my one out. A little bit of acrylic and white and whatever was left on my brush, and then I can lighten this back up again. A little bit of light getting through there maybe, like that. And then we can bring some darker ones back over again, so you get that layered effect. Now let's start to put in some light on our tree, on this tree, and dark. Right, so we've got the medium colour at the moment. Let's go with a stronger colour. So up the left-hand side of the tree, we want to make it a little bit lighter. So do you remember that? Let's go with, let's mix up something completely new for it. So white acrylic, going at the edge of my plate there. Yellow ochre going in, touch of green, and a little bit of gouache black going in as well. So I get that sort of a limey, creamy greeny grey colour, not limey at all really, but it's a creamy greeny grey. And I'm going to bring that up the side of this tree here. It's quite light, but don't worry, because I'm going to show you how you're going to deal with that. So quite light in there, left hand side of everything, because obviously the light is there. And another bit on this, like that. A little bit on that one over there on the other side of the bank. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to wash your brush off and you're going to dry it on some paper like that, and then you're just going to drag that round like that, drag it round and wipe off. Don't get too much paint. Remember, sometimes a brush is used for tape for removing paint as well, and this time we're kind of removing it and pulling it round like that. Just drag that round. And then we get that nice light on the left-hand side of that tree, and we've got to do that before it dries, of course. Is it dried yet? No. If it did dry a bit, just add a tiny drop of water to the brush, and you'll be fine again. That same colour, that light creamy green, which has got the strength in it because of the white acrylic, we're going to put some on the right-hand side of these, but not everywhere. A bit on that one. Take the paint off, and just do that drag round effect. Just drag it round like that. And on these, this one, don't bother doing it on the ones that are really far away, because you wouldn't see, they're all kind of hazy anyway, so don't worry about the light on them ones. These ones, however, do require a bit more detail on them, and just put that through there like that. And you can bring that same light down into the water. Just drag some of that into the reflection that corresponds with the one above, because everything's like a mirror and everything is seen below as it is in the water there, so above I mean. So sometimes we want to give it a bit more of a yellowy ochre look, so you get a warmer light. So we'll put a little bit of yellow ochre in that colour, a bit more white acrylic, so now we've got a warmer light colour. And here and there I might just feed it in, just here and there, a little bit stronger, but only here and there, because this is just subtle bits of light really hitting the tree, but not fully everywhere. You don't want to change the colour of the tree completely. You're just adding light here and there. Maybe in the foliage at the back as well, where a little bit of light's just got through, and then bring that down. I can put that into the water there. Little areas where the light has got through into those dark zones in reflections, but don't overdo it, because otherwise you end up losing the shadows in the water, and it won't look so nice. Just here and there. Remember, it's subtle. Don't think, oh, that looks good, therefore I shall do loads of it. It don't quite work like that. Just little bits here and there. What I'd like to do also is give the water a warmer texture, and I call this giving it an ochre wash. So we've got that ochre colour there, lots of water on my brush, and it's really watery now. And I'm not going to go so watery that it's going to run, it's going to soak into the paper quite quickly. And I'm just going to bring in some of that lovely yellowy warmth into the light part of the river. And it just breaks it up and just bring it through. It's obviously going to be darker over here because the colour underneath it's darker. So you don't have to worry about that. Through there, don't let it dribble. Well, you're working flat anyway, I should think. Some of you might be working on easel. That just warms that up through there. I'm also going to just warm up the sky as well, just above. So it's the same colour, nice ochre-y warmth. It's white and yellow ochre. And I'm going to put some, just dab off a little bit. I don't want to kill it, you know, just a little bit of light going up here. Like that, nice and soft. Very, very, just cross hatch it on. This is where I go that way and then that way, and let it join up. Through there. Like that. I'm going to show you a little few things we can do with some pastels just quickly, just to finish it off, and some pencils. Let me get through there. So I've got a selection of chalks and pastels. I think you have too, and I'm just going to put some of these into the painting just to show you how we can enhance it a little bit more. Now, most people have colouring pencils indoors. I'm only using a yellow and a black anyway, and a handful of different colours, just a few different colours. And there's yellow ochre, same as that, maybe a little bit creamier, a little bit lighter, which is going to be good for just injecting a little bit more light here and there. Don't push too hard with these, because they are powerful. So just here and there, where you just want to add a little bit of light in your picture, a little bit through there, a little bit of light back through there that just got through. Makes things nice, you know, to have these, you just get a feel for it. You step back, you have a look and think, oh, I'll put some light there. Let's put some light here. Like that, I'm just using the edge of the pastel there and just drawing little lines down using the full edge, the corner of it. That just works quite nicely. We can put a bit more light on these. Now, that's not fully dry yet, but it doesn't matter. I normally would dry them. But you know what? It's helping it a little bit in this case because it's only slightly damp. And that's fine. Just putting some light up there. That tree there deserves a bit more light than it got. Drag that round. A little bit of light up there. Stuff just going on. And we can get some quite piercing light bits now. This is a white chalk. And we can put these on quite strong through here, through the centre there, because it's coming from here. And little ripples coming away. Just drag your finger through. What else can you do? I've got these pencils to show you that black, when you do it lightly, can be used to just bring up some little fine grasses like this. And you just do some little bits and pieces coming up. And you can work that with the yellow. Because when you bring the yellow over, I'm only really doing it on this bank because it's nearer. But the yellow pencils will work and look quite greenish, like a creamy green, yellowy green, and you can bring those in over the top of things, working from the bottom upwards. It just makes that look all a bit more sort of, you know, a bit more textured and closer than anywhere else in the picture. Now, looking at that, I think we're there. I'm just going to get the old magic frame. It's something we do at the art club. When anybody finishes a picture, if we've got time at the end, and we generally have, we always put the magic frame over the painting, and we show the whole group, and it's great because everybody gets a round of applause, and it's a lovely moment at the end of the sessions. And we also remember when you join our art club, Forge Cottage Art Club, we always put your artwork, the children's artwork individually and the adults' artwork onto the Facebook page so everyone can have a look at it. And sometimes I see the amount of people it goes out to. It goes out to hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. And that's great. And the more it's shared, of course, the more people it gets to. So here we go. So we just put a frame over that, and there we are. So, like that. There it is. There's the magic frame, the famous magic frame. Picture done. Lovely mountain stream. No, sorry, not mountain stream. Woodland stream. Trees and reflections, and a lovely place to sit down and just take in the glory of nature, as we're all occasionally doing when you're allowed out during this isolation period. But a lovely thing to do. I hope yours goes well. I would love to see yours. Please send them to me. The mountain one, loads of people sent me their artwork to show me, and it was fabulous, and I really enjoyed looking at them. I always do. I get a real buzz out of looking at other people's artwork. I love it, and I hope you enjoy doing this one. Last thing to do, if anybody wants to buy this painting, it's going to go to the Rainbow Children's Trust, and I shall frame it, and it will be put in a frame, and it will cost £100, and every single penny will go to the Rainbow Children's Trust charity, which is our charity that we do. And I'll even put my signature on it there, Mason, like that, for you as well. So if anybody would like to buy this painting, you send me a check, I'll make sure it clears, and then I will send every single penny to the thing, to the Rainbow Children's Charity Trust, and then you'll get your piece of artwork. We'll work out how you get the artwork when it comes to it. Many thanks for watching today. I hope you're all okay and you enjoy this. Let me see your paintings as well, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.